November's coming up, and you know what that means? Some new releases for games. GameRanks has put together what looks like the best and most interesting games that are coming out this month. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on GameRanks, games to check out in November 2022. Starting off at number 10, it's The Devil in Me, the finale of the first season of the Dark Pictures anthology. For the unfamiliar, it is a series of standalone horror games that take place in a single universe, developed by Supermassive Games, the creators of Until Dawn. The idea is a crew of documentary filmmakers receive a call. That call invites them to this replica of the murder castle, originally built by Henry Howard Holmes, who, if you're unfamiliar, is America's first serial killer. To wet your whistle on H.H. Holmes, he's a guy who confessed to 27 murders. Some of the people were not even dead that he confessed to killing, but he was proven to have killed at least one person and claimed to be possessed by Satan. This entry actually adds some new mechanics to the Dark Pictures anthology. For instance, you can run, climb, crawl, and actually jump over gaps and obstacles. So if you see any Koopa Troopas, Goombas, or Bob-ombs, you are set. There's also a hiding mechanic, which was not present before. Light puzzles. There is now an inventory system, and all in all, it looks like a pretty substantial addition to what we've seen in the Dark Pictures anthology. And I think that's good because it shows that they're wanting to develop this series of games in terms of mechanics and not just narratively. The Devil in Me is coming to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC on November 18th. At number 9 is Warhammer 40k Darktide, which is kind of like a modified Vermintide series game, where in Vermintide it was mainly melee weapons. Now there is a mix of melee weapons and various projectiles. There's also a lot of great fantasy-oriented powers in the game and a character creator. So in this version of the game, you actually have some control over who you are that you didn't in the Vermintide games. In terms of plot, it seems like they're kind of taking a Destiny 2 approach, which is live service-ish, and I don't love that aspect of it. However, Vermintide is just such a good couple of games, and if you've watched footage of this game, it looks like all the best stuff about Vermintide just set in the 40k era. The game comes to us from Fat Shark, the developers of the Vermintide game, so in all honesty, I expect it to be quite good. Darktide is landing on PC November 30th, and apparently the Xbox Series shortly after. And number 8 is Veil VR. So I know in years past you have seen a very skeptical Falcon about VR. I have slowly warmed to it in recent years, but I think this has got me. In all seriousness, this is probably one of the more impressive looking things I've seen in VR yet. It's a tactical shooter, team-based, 5v5, objective-based. There's a thing that you gotta hack in each level. The objective of the game is to hack it. Really simple in terms of concept and exactly what you're doing, but the execution just looks so good. Like, in all seriousness, just between this game and the significantly less cumbersome VR hardware of the last couple years, I think this is it. This is the game that might do it. It's because it's not just the competitive multiplayer elements of it. Those look fantastic, but there's also a bunch of community stuff, including physics games. They're working on implementing a fully functional hockey rink. It's gonna be a lot. The game is also gonna be free to play, so you know what that entails. But it's got a unique enough look that whatever customization you're going to be able to do to your characters is going to look, I think, pretty cool. And the gameplay is just, I haven't gotten my hands on it yet, but I really want to. A few VR games have really grabbed my attention in the way that this one has, and it's releasing into early access on PC on November 17th. Apparently, PSVR 2 is in the plans. So if that's where you're going to go for VR, it looks like that's going to be a thing. Don't know when, though. And number 7 is Goat Simulator 3. Yes, Goat Simulator 3. They didn't bother with 2, which I like. I think that's fun. The original Goat Simulator was, of course, just a bizarre and silly, not actually Goat Simulator. Like, you played as a goat, but you weren't doing goat stuff for the most part. You're, generally causing havoc. And that's back. It's been amped up. Graphics are way better. And now you've got 4-player co-op, which 100% absolutely, yes, exactly what Goat Simulator needed. So I don't want to say that, like, this is going to give you a deep experience, but in terms of chaos, watching the trailer for Goat Simulator 3, the second Goat Simulator game, it just looks like a delight, and I cannot wait to play it. It's landing on Xbox Series, PlayStation 5, and PC on November 17th. And number 6 is Sonic Frontiers, which I don't know if you've paid attention to this game. I certainly have. We did a video about it not too long ago. I would definitely recommend having a look at it. When it was announced, there was a very underwhelming response, and it's partly because they announced it in the least interesting and exciting and, frankly, gameplay revealing way possible. But we've since sort of gained an understanding of what this game is going to be. There's an overworld. Clearly, there's a lot going on in that. There's also cyberspace levels, which are more traditional Sonic Unleashed to Colors to Generations type gameplay, and that seems to fill in for shrines, in my opinion, in Sonic Frontiers Breath of the Wild comparisons. I don't know, this looks like the Sonic game that's gonna get it right, and they've been trying to do a 3D Sonic game and get it right for a long time. There's always something that's not quite right, even in the best of them. Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, amazing games, but they have their flaws. And I don't mean like little spots where they did something wrong, but stuff baked into the concepts that don't quite work. I don't know. This looks like it's going to work. I'm excited for it. There's some controversy in saying such a thing, but I don't really care. There's people who have really wanted to maintain that this is going to be a bad game. I'm always trying to look at things positively unless, like, they've given a good reason not to, and I don't know, this looks like some good stuff. They actually put out a mega mix of a bunch of the cyberspace levels, music, and the music's really high quality for this game. Sonic Frontiers is coming to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, Nintendo Switch, and PC on November 8th. And number 5 is Spider-Man Miles Morales PC. You know what the Spider-Man games are. They're just some really fantastic open world games where you play as Spider-Man. Got great combat, great story. It's not that they're not without their flaws, but in terms of what they are, they're really fantastic. Miles Morales is a little bit shorter than the main Marvel Spider-Man game. You could look at this as an expansion or sort of a Uncharted Lost Legacy type full game. It really depends on your perspective, but I considered this just a somewhat short sequel. If you haven't played either of the Spider-Man games, probably start with the full-blown big one and then move on to this one. They're both fantastic, though, and I'm really looking forward to playing Spider-Man Miles Morales when it lands on PC November 18th. And number 4 is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which brings us some of the advancements of Arceus while retaining a turn-based battle system. It's kind of the best of both worlds. A lot of the stuff that we liked about Arceus was just how it handled the open world within the context of a Pokemon game. However, it was more of an action RPG, and this is more of a traditional Pokemon game. But obviously, there are a few things that are different. There is no battle transitions now. You get into a battle, you're just on the open world map fighting. It also brings in 4-player co-op, multiple stories, and it takes place in a new region called Paldea. The only negative I've really seen from anyone is that there are some issues with performance. They don't know if it's a final build that they have been able to play in previews, but there are a lot of Breath of the Wild comparisons without it departing from the actual Pokemon formula. It is a really pretty game, although it does clearly suffer some limitations from being a Nintendo Switch game. Maybe budget limitations too, I'm not really 100% sure. I like what it looks like though, and I'm excited to play it. I'm not sure exactly which one I'm getting, but Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are both coming out to the Nintendo Switch November 18th. And number 3 is Evil West, a pretty darn cool looking vampire slaying third-person shooter set in the Old West. Evil West comes to us from Flying Wild Hog, who developed Shadow Warrior. In my opinion, this is probably one of the most interesting aspects. It's a third-person shooter that the developers have noted their influence as games that are definitely not shooters, like exclusively shooters. They've talked about how Devil May Cry and 2018's God of War reboot are both big influences on the game, and I am there for that. Like a third-person shooter that is integrating ideas from those areas. And also, there just aren't enough Old West games that really mess with the setting. Evil West really seems to do that in spades. Looks like a great game, and I definitely look forward to playing it when it comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC November 22nd. And number 2 is Gungrave Gore, a sequel to actually some older games, Gungrave and its sequel from 2002 and 2004. This looks to revamp the shooting aspects of those games with some more, again, like, in all honesty, Devil May Cry looking stuff. And that sounds very good to me. The footage of this game is really cool looking, in my opinion, where the original game didn't really bring the kind of variety that it looks like we're getting in terms of locales that this game does. I mean, this is one of those, like, mow down your enemies with tons of bullets and then also implement close-range martial arts. Like, it looks extremely fun. I hope that it lives up to what it looks like, because honestly, between Evil West and this one, it's kind of a promising couple of games to see, because these types of games we really haven't seen a lot of in a while, these sort of mid-tier surprise gems. And I'm really excited to play Gungrave Gore when it comes to the PlayStations, the Xboxes, and PC November 22nd. And of course, at number 1, the big daddy of all the games releasing this year, other than Elden Ring, it's God of War Ragnarok. In terms of, like, beloved games, the God of War reboot is way up there. It was a huge success. Its launch on PC was fantastic. I was really excited to be able to play it on PC this year. And Ragnarok, I'm just really excited to continue on in this sort of Norse story that they've put forward. They've expanded the world, given you a lot more to do. We're encountering a lot more of the bigger Norse mythology names, including Thor in this game. I don't know, this is just gonna be a good game. You know it. And I particularly appreciate that they're not really wearing out their welcome with this series. It's a 2-game series, this Norse mythology thing, and then they're moving on to whatever is next for God of War. I don't know what it's going to be or when they're going to do it, but to me, it just sounds awesome. They're intending to wrap up this story, not prolong it longer than it needs to, and give us a hell of a game. I'm excited. I loved the first. I'm all in for the second. God of War Ragnarok's landing on PlayStation 4 and 5 on November 9th. As a quick bonus, Call of Duty Warzone 2.0 is coming. The new iteration of the free-to-play Battle Royale Call of Duty includes some new modes, a new map, and aquatic combat. It does look like there's going to be one really nice thing about Warzone 2.0, and that's that you're going to just be able to download Warzone, like not have to download all the extra Modern Warfare stuff. That's a big deal. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on Game Ranks.